Well, originally I was going to make this about all the bots and the shills and people just on the user reviews and ratings given. You had the review going on both sides for like Star Wars Outlaws and some of these games where people giving them nines and tens and others giving them ones and zeros, going crazy on either end. But I decided when I started looking at the critic reviews and like I saw there was one brave soul that gave this thing an actual negative review instead of shilling out for it. And I got curious about who it was. And so you scroll down here, get past all of the shills. Just keep scrolling all the way down. Which, how in the hell this thing ended up with a 76 reviews or critic score when you got all these 90s to 80s up in top is beyond me. But keep scrolling, keep scrolling, get down, and here we go. The one negative review, one brave soul. And this got me curious enough. I went and looked up a whole bunch of other games that these guys had reviewed to see how consistent they were, and I gotta admit, I think we might have found one of the only honest game critics out there anymore. And I looked these guys up. These GamersRD. They're from the Dominican Republic. So if you go to their actual website, you'll have to translate the page because it's in Spanish. But let's see what they had to say about Star Wars Outlaws, aside from giving it a 30. This is a game with the potential to be enjoyable and entertaining, but it is terribly limited by a super Disney-fied creative direction. You can say that again. High goals with a lack of polishing, awful writing, and identity policies. You don't say. Technical issues and the lack of attention to detail and questionable visuals showed us that Star Wars Outlaws was not ready to see the sunlight. That sounds like everything I've seen for it myself. But that got me curious enough, so I went through and kind of some of the more, maybe not popular, but the most talked about games I could kind of come across all here and on their Metacritic reviews. So this is for Concord, which, yet again, like, they were a little more on the mixed side as far as critic reviews overall, but when the user reviews are like a 1.7, it's that's still a really glaring difference. But oh well, we don't care about that. We just want to see how consistent these guys are. So this is them for Concord. 45. Fitting in everywhere is hard, and Concord is living proof that a paid 5v5 is more dangerous than a free one. It includes copied game features, irrelevant forced inclusion, and an exhausting learning curve. The only saving grace is that it has good PC optimization and acceptable graphics. Fair enough, especially considering the game was had so little interest that it died day one. And then I wanted to see some of the games that people actually really liked, and so we got Warhammer 40k with Space Marine 2 here, which of course most of the critics gave it a pretty good review, as they should. But you get down here to these guys, and they gave it, I think, a fairly honest 86. So this is a game that refreshes our routine and is more fun with friends, but can also be enjoyed alone. Though the graphics are impressive, there's room for improvement in terms of exploration and less repetitive missions, which that's pretty much matches with everything I've heard people say about it. We can progress and improve our marine to play our way. To fight boredom, a PvP mode is included that provides a unique experience, but there's so much action happening that you won't know what's going on around you. Which, fair enough. Although chaotic PvP is always fun, but still 86. I think that's a pretty fair review and matches up pretty good with the user scores for Space Marine 2. Black Myth Wukong, they actually gave it a full score of 100. What they had to say was that with breathtaking concept art, stunning graphics, and sceneries, wonderful score, and one of the most fulfilling playabilities we've seen in role-playing games, Black Myth Wukong is unquestionably a Game of the Year candidate, promising a bright future for the game's fans. And true enough, everybody has great things to say about it. They love it. The aesthetic looks cool. The gameplay is fun. Yeah. What was this one here? This was oh yeah, this was a review for Shadow of the Erd Tree. So they gave it a 90, which I think is fair. I would give Elden Ring itself a 100, 10 out of 10. But yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree. I mean, it was really really close, but they did reuse a few too many styles of enemies, I guess, even with the new twist on them for me to rank it at a out of 10. But yeah, I can definitely see a 9 because it was very good regardless. And of course, the expansion is consistent with what we've come to expect from some software. This is the biggest studio DLC to date. It does not disappoint, delivers everything we imagined. It includes new enemies, new ways to play, and most importantly, extremely challenging bosses who will make our journey through the Shadowlands difficult, which, there you go. Fair enough. That sums up Shadow of the Erdtree in an instant. This is Stellar Blade. They gave it an 85. And what they have to say about it, they said Stellar Blade takes the best of the Souls-like genre and the Nier Automata game to give us a game full of unbridled action whose protagonist will win the hearts of all of us. It is a challenging game that encourages you to be risky and has very grotesque-looking enemy designs, which that's one way to put it. Fair enough. Uh, Now this is one that might make a few people mad, but I do feel like they're at least giving their honest opinion on it. It's Dragon's Dogma 2. They actually gave it a 44, right on the opposite end of what you'd expect. They said this is an ambitious game that ends up being absurd by giving us the worst possible experience. The story is entertaining and the graphics are stunning, but the performance on PC completely ruins the experience. And of course, the reviews from when the game first dropped, so I have no idea if they fixed that or not since then. Capcom tried to create an immersive game, but it has microtransactions, bugs everywhere, and repetitiveness. This is just the beginning of the end of such a beloved franchise, which, to be fair, if Dragon's Dogma 2 had come out like within 3 or 4 years of the first game, I think the reception would have been much different, but I really think they waited too long to release something that followed the exact same formula. Because if you played the first one, way back in like, I don't know, say like 2013, and then you go to 2 now, it's just, it just doesn't hit the same as if you played them fairly close together. But still, whether you agree or not, I do appreciate that they do give what seems to be quite an honest opinion, especially when the general consensus for Dragon's Dogma 2 was take an 88 and have a whole bunch of hundreds. Which I do feel like if you're honest about it, having microtransactions in a single player game should at least knock it down to a 9, even if you really, really liked it, but that's just personal opinion. Helldivers. Well, Helldivers 2, technically. They gave it a 76. Said this is the game that the community needed, with ups and downs in its first days of release, and best of all, it has outstanding graphics. Playing it alone is not recommended, but getting together with your colleagues to spend a few good hours without worrying about your surroundings is the best therapy. Fair enough. Oh, Skull and Bones. I gave it a 40. Sounds about right. Skull and Bones is the result of a long wait and not receiving what was expected. It is an ambitious but monotonous game. Visually speaking, it has very good graphical details, good atmosphere, sound, and a decent level of customization. Being a multiplayer service game is absolutely an advantage for this pirate game, although unfortunately, in a few weeks, everyone will stop talking about it, which they did. Aside from the occasional person ragging on it, it's just like, yep, 40 is probably pretty well deserved. I don't think too many people would be upset with that. Of course, they gave here's D4, and they gave it a 70. I got a couple more. I'm not going to read the rest of these, but just show you the score and tell you what it's for. But this is for Diablo 4. Give it a 70, which this is right at launch. This isn't like, after Season 4 and the game finally got good or whatever it is people are saying about it now. This was right at launch, so I think a 7 was pretty fair for that at launch. This is Redfall. They gave it a 65, which I know some people say it deserves way less. But from the way this review talks about Redfall, about how it being an Arcane Studios, or it's all about Arcane Studios, many fans will actually like it. I do think whoever reviewed this was probably a big Arcane fan, and so they were a little biased on that, but even then, 65 is a 65. And then you got, oh yeah, they did a review for Jedi Survivor. What was theirs on this? I think theirs was actually kind of low on this one, is why I went to look at it. Yeah, they gave it a 50. Because they said this is a sequel that miserably fails to fill its predecessor's shoes. Has the best features of the original, didn't know how to take advantage of them. Current lack of ambition in animation, scripts, graphical stuff, optimization. Alright. I know a lot of people still really liked it and would probably say that's scoring it too low, especially like what do we have here? The critic score for it was a 78. What was the user score? 6.5. I mean, they're on the low end compared to that, but I gotta admit, as far as most of these go, like the reviews themselves, they feel like they're very honest, which I appreciate. And more often than not, yeah, user review scores like down in the threes on that, but more often than not, they are pretty dang close to what most people were feeling, which, is always good. But at the end of the day, man, even if I disagree with the critic, if they are, I can't even see that one. If they are at least, if I feel like the review is at least honest, then I like that. And so I can't speak for all these other reviewers. I haven't bothered to look through and see how consistent any of these others are on some of these things. But I was quite pleased to search through for this one and find that this GamersRD, at the very least, they feel very genuine and fairly consistent with how they rate games. So if you've been looking for trying to find the one honest gaming critic site out there, check them out. Keep an eye out for their tag on Metacritic or wherever else, and you can always view their regular website reviews. You just have to translate the page because it'll be in Spanish. But yeah, I was kind of pleasantly surprised to find that, and it's nice to see that there are at least some, or one at the very least. But I'm hoping there's a few more that are still honestly reviewing games and not just shilling in order to keep their access. So yeah, that's all I had for this one. So if you enjoyed listening to seeing this and reading through these and stuff, like, subscribe, all that fun jazz. Maybe tell a friend about these guys, and hey, leave me in the comments if you've seen these guys before and paid attention to their stuff, or if there's any other reviewers out there that I need to check out and kind of keep an eye on and see, like any others that seem to be pretty reliably at least genuine with the reviews. Because I am very curious to see, because like it used to be, your IGN, and I mean that was a long time ago. It used to be like IGN and GameSpot and PC Gamer and all that. You used to be able to actually go trust them. Like that's probably been 10, 15 years ago, so it's been quite a while, honestly. But it's still nice to find at least one or two, because you don't always have time to go and sit and write and like watch somebody play, 30 minutes to an hour of gameplay to really check a thing out. Yeah, so that's all I got for this one. So stay safe. See you in the next one.